Good to see everybody here. We didn't expect so many. We need to set out a few more chairs next time, I think. We'll have to figure out how we can do that. Maybe get rid of a little bit of this buffer space up here. There's still seats, but it's getting crowded. That's good to see. So welcome to the 6th Sunday after Pentecost, and of course, welcome back to your sanctuary. It has been a hot one. I hope you all have the resources you need to remain cool during these hot, humid days. And if you're anything like my dog Laura, you are spending a lot of time laying around in the shade. And for her, she's laying in front of the air conditioning register any place she can. So let's begin this morning's worship with this morning's call out prayer. Please rise. O Lord, mercifully receive the prayers of your people who call upon you, and grant that they may know and understand what things they ought to do, and also may have grace and power faithfully to accomplish them. Through Jesus Christ our Lord, who lives and reigns with you and the Holy Spirit, one God, now and forever. Our opening hymn this morning is Wonderful Words of Life. We'll do verses 1 through 3. It's number 600 in the hymnal, and it will be up on the screen.
Lord, you have been our dwelling place in all generations.
Before the mountains were brought forth, forever you formed the earth and the world, from everlasting to everlasting, you are God.
You turn us back to dust, and say, turn back, O mortal one.
For 1,000 years in your Son,
you sweep them away. They are like a green, like grass that is renewed in the morning.
In the morning it flourishes and is renewed. In the evening it fades and withers.
For we are consumed by your anger, by your wrath, we are overwhelmed.
You have set our iniquities before you, our secret sins in the light of your countenance.
For all our days pass away under your wrath. Our years come to an end like a fire.
The years of our life are 70 and 10, or even by reason of strength 80. Yet their span is but toil and trouble. They are soon gone, and we fly away.
Who considers the power of your anger, the awesomeness of your wrath?
So teach us to remember our days, that we may receive a heart of wisdom.
Return, O Lord, how long? Have pity on your servants.
Satisfy us in the morning with your steadfast love, that we may rejoice and be glad in all our days.
Make us glad as many days as you have afflicted us, and as many years as we have seen evil.
Let your work be manifest to your servants, and your glorious power to our children.
Let the favor of the Lord our God be upon us and establish the work of our hands.
O prosper.
Please stay standing for the glory of God. Please be seated for this morning's hymn of praise, A Mighty Fortress is Our God, verses 1 and 4, page 1. This morning, the pastoral prayer will be reading from Genesis 25, 19 through 34, beginning the story of Jacob and Esau. We'll read from the NRSV.
These are the descendants of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham was the father of Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he married Rebekah, daughter of Bethuel, the Aramean of Paddan-aram, sister of Laban, the Aramean.
Isaac prayed to the Lord for his wife because she was barren, and the Lord granted his prayer, and his wife Rebekah conceived.
The children struggled together within her, and she said, "If it is to be this way, why do I live?" So she went to inquire of the Lord, and the Lord said to her,
Two nations are in your womb, and two peoples born of you shall be divided. The one shall be stronger than the other. The elder shall serve the younger.
When her time to give birth was at hand, there were twins in her womb. The first came out red, all his body like a hairy mantle. So they named him Esau.
Afterward, his brother came out with his hand gripping Esau's heel. So he was named Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when she bore him.
When the boys grew up, Esau was a skillful hunter, a man of the field, while Jacob was a quiet man, living in tents. Isaac loved Esau because he was fond of game, but Rebekah loved Jacob.
Once when Jacob was cooking a stew, Esau came in from the field, he was famished.
Esau said to Jacob, "Let me eat some of that red stuff, for I am famished." Therefore he was called Edom. Jacob said, "First, sell me your birthright."
Esau said, I am about to die. What use is a birthright to me? Jacob said, swear to me first.
So he swore to him and sold his birthright to Jacob.
Then Jacob gave Esau bread and lentil stew, and he ate and drank and rose and went his way. Thus
Esau despised his birthright.
the story of God's people, all thanks be to God.
Amen.
Now, let us affirm our faith through the words of the Apostles' Creed, page 81. Please stand. I believe in God the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, and Jesus Christ, which conceived by the Holy Spirit, born of the Virgin Mary, suffered under Pontius Pilate, was crucified and buried. The third day he rose from the dead, ascended into heaven, and sitteth at the right hand of God the Father Almighty. From thence he shall come to judge the quick and the dead. I believe in the Holy Spirit, the Holy Catholic Church, communion of saints, forgiveness of sins, the resurrection of the body, and the life everlasting.
Well, you can keep standing if you'd like, but we ask you to stay in your seats. It is time to pass the peace. And I will say these words. In this time of peace, and in the words of David to Nabal, peace and prosperity to you, your family, and everything you own.
Peace be with you.
So, say hi and take a break. Peace would be great. All right, you can be seated whenever you're ready. All right. So this morning's moment of insight, we'll take a look at one of Jesus' most famous parables, the parable of the sower. The story takes place along the shores of the Sea of Galilee, and Jesus is speaking to a crowd so large that he decides to preach from a boat. Now, we all live in a town that owes much of its livelihood to agriculture, so we understand what it takes to sow seed and harvest a crop. And in Jesus' story, the planter goes into a field to plant his crop. Now, he didn't have one of those big mechanized planters that puts all the seeds in precise rows and just the right number and the right spacing so that you get the optimized crop. Instead, he's got a scattered seed by hand, probably just taking a handful and casting it out into the field and trying to get it spread out as widely as possible. Now, I don't remember seeing anybody working the soil by hand while we were over in Jerusalem or in Israel this past winter, or anybody working behind a draft animal while they're over there. But I can tell you, they plant in just about every available space possible, even in rocky soil. So we know that some of the seeds land where the birds can eat it, some lands where the soil is too shallow for root development, and some, hopefully the majority, lands where it can grow and flourish. In telling this story, Jesus is comparing his word to the seed and the people's hearts to the soil. There are people whose hearts are hard, like a well-beaten path, those who are shallow without roots, and those whose lives are too full, where the seeds are choked out by other things. But thankfully, there are people who hear the word, receive it, and grow a bountiful crop. Now, our job is to help prepare the soil, scatter the seed, and harvest a bumper crop. But how often do we harden the soil, plant thorns, and allow weeds to grow instead? We do that when we fail to act with God's love in our hearts. We must be careful of that. Let's pray. God of word and love, your Son has told stories to challenge us to understand your love. You spread your word among all who would hear. But many did not understand, and their interest in you did not last, and it did not bear fruit. Sustaining God, we ask that you continue your work in those people through us, that your love for you provides fertile soil that can germinate and nurture a bumper crop of those who love you, and spread your word to a hungry nation. In your name we pray. Amen. try to do another one of these reflections as part of this series. So you need to unmute the TV and mute the microphone there.
Before the mountains were born, before the earth had its form, from the world that was before to the world that is to come, you are Elohim. For 1,000 years are just one of your days, but men are like grass, quickly wither away. So teach us to number our days, that a heart of wisdom we would gain. But years of trouble be turned to gladness. Let your beauty be upon us, and in your anger remember
Please join me in prayer. Lord God, pour out your Spirit on the words I'm about to share. Make them your own. Find them pleasing, I pray, that they may nourish your people. O Lord, our rock and our redeemer. Amen. Although my early days were enriched by the polkas, waltzes, and schottisches of my family, the 50s rock and roll of my mother, and the country music of the times, it didn't take long for me to discover the rock and roll of my times, generally beginning in the early 70s. Now, we all know that while kids may grow up with the music of their parents, they quickly moved into a genre of their own. For me, that meant bands like the Eagles, Led Zeppelin, Aerosmith, and Bad Company, and songs like Steve Miller's Fly Like an Eagle, whose opening line sounded so cool back then. Time keeps on slipping, slipping, slipping into the future. Great song with that little synthesizer riff, and while I really couldn't find anything that links that song to today's Psalm of the Summer, I'm telling you, I could make that link, and maybe I will before all is said and done this morning. But the song that most captures me from those days is Time by Pink Floyd. Now, you may or may not like the music, but you have to have heard this song. It starts out with the ringing and clanging of multiple bells and alarm clocks, and then a drum beat starts, like the ticking of a clock. I thought about bringing some drums in here, but that would be just too much extra stuff. You got that ticking sound. And that's soon joined by slow but searing guitar chords and a drummer riffing along. A synthesizer adds its voice when suddenly the drummer asserts himself and the vocals kick in, taking away the moments that make up a dull day, fritter and waste the hours in an offhand way. It's so hard not to just sing this, but I can't sing it like they can. Kicking around on a piece of ground in your hometown, waiting for someone or something to show you the way, which is followed by, you are young and life is long and there is time to kill today. And then one day you find 10 years have got behind you. No one told you when to run. You missed the starting gun. Those are almost direct quotes from our psalmist, although in a version of the Bible none of us have read before. That'd be a Bible I'd like to read. But the lyrics that really get me now, especially as I find my children getting older, because certainly I'm not getting older, come from the second verse. And you don't know how badly I wanted to put this up as a video. Just crank it up, but I do that. Probably blow you guys right out the back door. So I'm not going to do that. I wanted to. The second verse starts out with, and you run to catch up with the sun, but it's sinking, racing around to come up behind you again. The sun is the same in a relative way, but you're older, shorter of breath, and one day closer to death. And it ends with this line. The time is gone, the song is over. Thought I had something more to say. I've always said that if I could just bring just one album to a desert island, it would be something by Pink Floyd, because lost in this pitiful recitation of the lyrics are guitar and drum solos that really lit up a young boy's imagination all those years ago. And that is what Psalm 90 is all about. Passage of time. The fact of the matter is that we're all going to die sooner or later. Going back to my rock and roll days, Jim Morrison of the Doors once sang, "No one here gets out alive." It's not something we'd like to be reminded of, but that is exactly what Psalm 90 is all about. Sorry, but there is a point to be made here. This psalm isn't about how we are all going to die, but how we are to live. So let's dig into this psalm a little bit and find out what it has to say. Now, when you open your Bible to Psalm 90, you'll find several bits of information even before you start to read the words of the psalm itself. The first thing you'll notice is that Psalm 90 is the first psalm of the fourth book of the Psalms. As you know, there are 150 psalms total, and they're divided into 5 distinct books or sections, possibly to align the book with the first 5 books of the Old Testament or Torah. Book 1, the Genesis book, contains 41 psalms. Most are attributed to David and reflect his life and his understanding of the glory of God. The The second book, the Exodus book, contains 31 songs written by David, Solomon, and Korah. And it provides us words of wonder and deliverance to be used in worship. In those words also comes a sense of the nation in ruin, which makes sense when you read about generation after generation of king doing what is evil in the sight of the Lord and other books of the Bible. Psalm 73, last week's psalm, is the first psalm of 17 in book 3, which relates to Leviticus. These were mostly written by Asaph and the Levitical priests as songs to be sung by temple choirs, serving to remind us that God alone is holy and to remind us of our place before him. We'll take a closer look at book 4 shortly, but might as well finish up with book 5, which is made up of 44 psalms, some ascribed to David. With Thanksgiving as a central theme, this book coincides with Deuteronomy, since it speaks of new beginning in the Promised Land, which is appropriate as we see. So if we look at the overall structure of the Psalms, it appears that books 1 through 3 have been shaped in response to the defeat of Jerusalem in 587 BCE, the overthrow of the Davidic monarchy, and the subsequent exile in Babylon. In that light, then, Psalm 90 and Book 4 as a whole seem to be designed, at least in part, as a response to the crisis of the exile and its aftermath. In other words, how did the people of Judah and Jerusalem worship their God without land, temple, and monarchy? Which brings us to the other thing you might have noticed about this psalm before you actually read it. It is ascribed to Moses as a prayer of Moses, the man of God. This is where the links to the books of the Torah come in. Much as Moses led his people out of Egypt and through the unknowns of the desert, so now the people of Jerusalem are being led, or soon will be, from their land through the unknowns of exile and captivity. All of these things have the psalmist thinking about the frailty of human life and the impermanence of human structures and institutions, with Moses as something of a model. For all his greatness, Moses never made it into the Promised Land. He ran out of favor, yes, but in a sense, he also ran out of time. Altogether, these things seem to leave us facing a real downer of the psalm. But in the end, Psalm 90 is not pessimistic, despairing, or hopeless. Indeed, it is a call to rise up, a challenge to do better, and a request for God to prosper the work of our hands. Take a short look. Verses 1 and 2 bring us the title of this morning's message. You heard it as everlasting to everlasting in this morning's call to worship, but I like the sound of the CEB. Lord, you have been our help generation after generation. Before the mountains were born, before you birthed the earth and inhabited the world, from forever in the past to forever in the future, you are God. Immediately, we're made aware that God has always been and always will be. God exists outside of our understanding of time, and really outside of our ability to understand, period. But this is no reason for hopelessness and despair, although verses 3 through 10 may cause us to feel that way. We were created from dust in Genesis 2:7 and 3:19. And verse 3 immediately returns us back to the dust. 1,000 years are but a day to our Lord, a short couple of hours in the night. We are reminded how small we are in God's perspective. Our individual lives barely measurable in relationship to God. Verse 7 confronts us with God's anger. We wither before it and are overwhelmed by it. Yes, God is angered by our sin. God's wrath is evoked. But God's response to this anger and wrath is not to impose mortality upon us. God is not condemning us to death. That was built into us at the time of creation. Adam and Eve would have died eventually even if they had eaten from the tree, and so will we. Adam and Eve were not killed for their sin. They were removed from the garden. They were condemned to a life of labor and hardships, which continue to mark life to this day. In that light, sin does not cause physical death. Rather, physical death is a characteristic of humanity, just as eternity is a characteristic of God. Death demonstrates to us that we are not divine, and the reality of death invites us to entrust life and future, including our own mortality, to God. Indeed, it is the denial of or fear of death that causes sin. Yes, our lives are filled with toil and trouble, our days soon gone and we fly away too soon. But for those who trust the future in God, life in the future in God, there is more to life than the experience of God's wrath, as we will find in verses 11 and 12, the center and turning point of the psalm. Who considers the power of your anger? Your wrath is as great as the fear that is due you. So teach us to count our days that we may gain a wise heart. Martin Luther renders this verse as, teach us to reflect on the fact that we must die, so that we become wise. To which may be added, Lord, teach us to make each day count. Another way to say it is, teach us to live one day at a time, to receive our allotted time as a gift from God, and to live our lives to the fullest every single day. That is what a wise heart is all about. Which sets us on the road home, verses 13 through 17. Mark transition and bring us toward the conclusion. Words like anger and wrath give way to compassion and love. The passage of time becomes much more positive. Those who gain a wise heart will receive life as a gift, will entrust their days and years to God, and will experience the passage of time as something more than burdensome, oppressive, and depressive. Indeed, when we trust our life and future to God, God sets us free to live one day at a time. The present becomes God's gift, establishing a foundation of genuine satisfaction, gladness, and joy. By looking to God and living for God day by day, we participate in and contribute constructively to something greater than ourselves and our own accomplishments. In short, when we entrust life and future to God, the work of our hands contributes to God's work, which is the reign or realm of God. That stuff gets pretty deep. What are we to make of it all? Well, I know that some of you have suffered illnesses and losses that prevent you from doing what you were once able to do. Certainly age is a factor. I've heard your laments. But Psalm 90 makes it clear that this isn't necessary. It isn't God's goal for your life. I hate to say plan. God wants you to live each and every day to its fullest. That is, to the best of your abilities. Not your abilities of days gone by, but right now, today. And not for yourself, but for God. A life dedicated to lifting up our Lord means you don't have to drag the past out into the light. You don't have to bear the burdens of your past. Time is too short for that. Let it all go and live your life free in our Lord. To live life to the fullest means to live for God's sake, which in turn means living in community with all God's people for a future entrusted to God, where the promise of satisfaction, gladness, and joy will be fulfilled. Live into your strengths. What's that? You say you don't have any? You're wrong. You are strong somewhere. And there are folks who are weak in that very same place. In God's community, we are surrounded by people of varying strengths and weaknesses. How I pity people who surround themselves with themselves. A bunch of folks who are so strong in one area and yet so weak in others. How do they stand? In God's community, we live on our strengths and surround ourselves with others who possess strengths of their own. Together we are strong. There is no need for envy, for each person's strength is necessary for the strength of the community. Theologian Reinhold Niebuhr, who I do hope you've heard of at some point in your lives, put it this way. Nothing that is worth doing can be achieved in our lifetime. Therefore, we must be saved by hope. Nothing is true or beautiful or good makes complete sense in any immediate context of history. Therefore, we must be saved by faith. Nothing we do, however virtuous, can ever be accomplished alone. Therefore, we must be saved by love. And no virtuous act is quite as virtuous from the standpoint of our friend or foe as it is from our own standpoint. Therefore, we must be saved by the final form of love, which is forgiveness. And in the closing lines of the longer work, Oscar Romero put it this way. We provide a yeast that produces effects far beyond our capabilities. We cannot do everything. And there is a sense of liberation in realizing that. This enables us to do something and to do it very well. It may be incomplete, but it is the beginning, a step along the way, an opportunity for the Lord's grace to enter and do the rest. We may never see the end results. That is the difference between the master builder and the worker. We are workers, not master builders. Ministers, not messiahs. We are prophets of the future. It is not our own. In the end, it isn't really about what you have accomplished, but what you have contributed. And with words like that to end on, we don't need to mess around with Steve Miller's words. Amen.
As you listen to this morning's oratory, think about the worshipful act of giving back to our Lord. Think about what you have received as blessings in your life. And think about how you can bless others in there. Amen.
Gracious God, your hospitality has surrounded us and welcomed us, even when we only grudgingly extended hospitality to sisters and brothers who are also your children. May we grow each day in our willingness to be welcoming disciples, not just those who look like us, talk like us, or think like us. May our offering this morning be received not just in gratitude for your hospitality, but as our way to extend comfort and welcome to those for whom your love is a mystery. We pray in Jesus Christ's holy name. Amen. You may be seated, and it is time for our joys and concerns. So what are your joys and concerns this morning? It's been too hot for a lot of joy, hasn't it?
We are on our way to meet our new grandchildren, 3 of them.
Oh my.
So that's the joy. And if you want to in your prayer, I have testing to go through.
You catch that? What was the last piece there?
And corners.
I have testing on Wednesday.
Testing on Wednesday, okay. Anything else that we'd like to share? Anita?
Leah has gotten sick and then we're going to do a coach.
So her daughter Leah has gotten sick and all of this moving around and everything else.
I didn't do anything. How do I mute us?
Sandy?
I think we need to think about all the people making decisions about school openings, the administrators, the parents, the students, teachers, and all that they have to go through and support any decisions that are made.
Absolutely. She calls for prayers for all of those involved with making the decision to open schools and those who will be opening schools and just everything that's got, I can't even imagine having to be in charge. It's hard enough being in charge of this little church. I couldn't imagine being in charge of schools with hundreds of kids and everything else. Kids need to get back together, but we want to be safe, and what do we do? So, I agree. Thank you. Linda?
The Jim Elder family, Jim has gone into a rehabilitation center.
Yeah, I received, I think Bob might forward me an update on Jim Elder. He's moving, he's progressing and doing better, moving into rehab. And if you'd like a full update, I can send you the email or whatever, just let me know. If he is improving, the situation is okay, but not great. Anything else that we would like to share with the group? All right. I will ask then that we move to our hymn of preparation. Seek ye first will be verses 1 and 2 because they're short and peaceful. Through dreams and visions, O God, you broaden the horizon and hope of your people, that they may discover the meaning of your covenant, even in the midst of protest and violence. Increase the number of those who believe in your word, so that all people may joyfully respond to your call and share in your promise. O God of mercy and Jesus Christ, you freed us from sin and death, and by your Holy Spirit you nourish our mortal bodies with life. Nurture us that we may bear fruit abundantly. Grant wisdom to those who lead us, and compassion to those who protect us. As you heard the prayer of Isaac and Rebekah, O God, and guided them in the way of your love, so listen now to those who call upon you, as with joy we lift up 3 great grandchildren. We also lift up those who are facing medical testing and illnesses. We lift up those who have to make difficult decisions right now. So many decisions. Lord, we lift up the elder family. As Jim is showing progress, but still has a road to walk. Lord, we ask that you continue to be with Nick Brown as he is undergoing testing. Answers are being sought. Lord, you invite each of us to live our lives to their fullest. Help us to define what fullness means each and every day. And now that we've proclaimed our joys and our concerns, let us take to the Lord those things which we wish to keep between God and ourselves in a time of silent prayer and confession. Move us to praise your gracious will. For in Christ Jesus you have saved us from the deeds of death and open for us the hidden ways of your love. We ask this through Jesus Christ our Lord, who taught us to pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and power, and glory forever. Amen. If you'd like to stand, our hymn of commitment is Open My Eyes That I May See, will be verses 1 through 3. It's number 454. As you go forth today, go forth determined to make the most of each and every day that God has given. For God's days are gifts that we know are numbered, like it or not. Hello. Just noticed folks sitting here. This is so cool. Hello. Hello, I must be going. We must be going. Go forth with God's love in your heart, doing what you know is right as God's children. And I love this little benediction at the end of this devotional. Go today with your eyes wide open and a new awareness to the needs of others around you. Look for ways to be with your neighbors today, even if not face to face. And the wisdom and strength of Christ, who is with you always, be your guide. Amen. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.